Hello. So this is Classic Team. You're probably wondering what this video is about. Actually, you probably already know what it's about, because I probably got it up there in the title. So, here we go. This here is a Pandora. Yes, OpenPandora. The name of the company, which would be OpenPandora, is the producer of these. You're probably wondering what it's all about. And so I'm going to go over it a little bit. Not a whole lot, but just enough for you to get a basic idea of what these are like and what they're about. So on the front here, if you haven't noticed yet, there's dual SD card slots. I've got 8 gigabytes here and 2 gigabytes here. It has been tested for up to 64 gigabytes per slot, so you could have up to 128 gigabytes just through SD cards. Over here is the power switch, and right here is the audio. And right here is the audio knob for turning up and down the volume. Back here is the USB port. There's holes right here in order to thread a thing around in case you want to hang it on your hand or your arm. Right here is the power, where you charge it up. This is the video out. There's currently no video out cables available. They will be later. And there's a mini USB port. And then of course you got your R and your L buttons. On the back side, we have a stylus, which are slightly tough to get out. See, there's a stylus for use with the touchscreen. And there's a battery compartment, which is kind of a pain to get off, but not too bad. The battery on the inside says Pandora Ultra Portability without sacrificing capability. The battery falls out and shows the serial number, which is the unit number. Mine is number 3588. It is a first batch unit. Has all the wonderful stuff that you like to see on the back of those. This is a 4000 mAh, I believe, battery. It can keep a charge for as many as 20 hours on standby, although you're probably going to get like 10 hours when actually using this thing. Now, excuse me while I try to... There we go. Okay, so you're probably wondering what OpenPandora is exactly. Well, how do you explain this thing? It looks like a 3DS, yeah. I think that's been gathered. Here's the logo. If it, yeah, there we go. It's basically a pocket computer, a UMPC. And you're going to see that later in a minute here. And I'll explain more of what it does afterwards. Alright, so now we're going to open up Pandora's box. Woo! Whoa! So, here it is. On the bottom half, you have your D-pad, your nubs. There's 2 nubs. Your start button, select button, and Pandora button. And on the side here, you have your Y, A, and X, and B. And then, of course, you've got your full QWERTY keyboard with some slight differences to keep all the keys fitting on screen. And that's the bottom half. And the top half is I think it's a 800 by 640 screen or something like that, and stereo speakers. And the last thing is the touchscreen and the LED lights, which are right here and right here. They're a bit hard to see, but they're there. So now I'm going to show you the boot up process. Alright, so here's the boot up process of the Pandora. It shows you the Pandora logo, following which it gives you the loading screen indicating which version of the operating system you're using. In this case, I'm using Zaxxon Hotfix 5. The operating system is using Angustum. I don't know how to pronounce it. It only takes about 15 seconds to boot up. And there we go. Alright, so this is the full desktop. I currently have some stuff loaded on it. When you first get the unit, it only has file system, trash, and one other thing. And if you have an SD card plugged in, it can display that too, but I turned them off. So, excuse my hands, they are going to slightly be in the way. It's kind of awkward how to record this, so I figured I'd show off what this does. So, the controls are the left num is used to control the mouse. The right num is used to left click and right click. So, if we can, there we go, or right click. And then, of course, other buttons are used as needed. So what should I show you guys today? I think I'll show some of the more impressive stuff. So play, let's see. Alright, so here's Croc running on the PlayStation 1 emulator on the Pandora. And here is Super Mario 64.
Hello.
Currently running at 60 frames per second on UPin Plus at almost a gigahertz. Yes, I have overclocked for this one, although you don't have to. Many people run it as low as 600 megahertz, which is only about 100 above the natural. But this probably isn't very impressive to you, especially since you may have seen that it runs on the PSP just fine. Well, why don't I show you something a little more exciting? Well, how about this one? Banjo-Kazooie for the Nintendo 64. Doesn't quite run full speed, but runs fast enough that you can play it if you want. Well, how about a party game? You might be interested in playing Mario Kart 64?
Welcome to Mario Kart. Are you ready? Select your player. Let's go. Select map.
The sound might be stuttering, but the game is still running at full speed. Miss the days when you could watch somebody get through an amazing game at the arcade? Well, now you might be able to have that experience once again. Dragon's Lair is playable at full speed on the Pandora.
Become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the...
Just insert your credits. And then give it a whirl. Whoop. Oh, this part I know. Ye Rapids. Ye Whirlpools. So maybe console games aren't quite your type. Well, you can always give a handheld title a go. For example, here is Wario Land 4 for the Game Boy Advance. Running through GPSP on the Pandora. Ever want to play a Virtual Boy game on the go, but never was able to before? Well, now you can. And your eyes won't bleed either. Keep in mind that it does run a little slow, because, let's be honest, Virtual Boy emulation never has really probably been a real big importance to anybody. But it does run, and fairly nicely. It's just the sound that makes a little bit of stuttering. In fact, it makes a lot of stuttering. And maybe you've been into those more obscure handhelds. Well, here's a WonderSwan emulator. Playing Klonoa. Ah, it's one of those sideways stages. See, this is when you turn your Pandora like that. Ah, here's one that's a little bit more feasible. Hopefully it won't be turned sideways. And that would be Mr. Driller for the WonderSwan color. Or crystal, I don't remember. Here we go. Ever wanted to carry your NES games with you wherever you went? Well, have no fear. You can play your NES games right on the Pandora. Here's Kirby's Adventure, for example, created by HAL Laboratories and published by Nintendo in, I believe it was 1990 something. Maybe it was 92. That would have been pretty late in the lifespan. Oh, there I go. Grow up with the Super Nintendo like I did? Well, now you can carry those with you too. In fact, this is one of the reasons why I got the Pandora. So here's Donkey Kong Country 3. Developed by Rareware, published by Nintendo, and came out for the Super Nintendo in 1996. I could go on and on about all the emulators that are available for this thing, but I don't really want to spend too much time talking about that. And in fact, I don't really want to spend too much on this video as a whole, since it's supposed to be an overview of the device. So I'm just going to go on to the games for the unit. Yeah, you can use emulators, but there's also games that are made for it, or ported. Most of them are ported, but there are a few original games for it. For example, here's a very popular title for the unit, Super Geometry Dust. It uses both nubs. It's a combination of asteroids and Super Stardust. There is a version of this available on the iOS store, however you have to pay for it. This version is free for the Pandora. And this version came first. Here's something a little different. Pandora Panic. This is sort of like WarioWare. If you've ever played that, then you'll probably be familiar with the formula in this game. Essentially, it's a bunch of mini games developed by different developers in the community, and you just run through them as far as you can. I don't know how to do this one. Oh, I see. Don't crash land. There we go. Another spell. Well, spelling games can be difficult when they're actually complicated words. Oh, this is a tricky one. You gotta get it in the bucket. Oh, I got it. Nice. How about Shoot-Tat? An interesting puzzle shooter game. Where you have to make the, you have to shoot blocks to make certain blocks turn into an entire rectangle or square. Doing so clears that shape. Now, let's talk about ports. Here's a port of Wind and Water, a puzzle game created for the Dreamcast and the GP2X a couple years ago by Yawnworks. This is an official port by Yawnworks, or at least it's officially okayed by Yawnworks. If you're not into puzzlers, you can always play Frogato, which is a platformer developed for desktops, but runs very nicely on the Pandora. Well, maybe you're not into platformers or puzzlers. Well, there is fighting games. For example, the Streets of Rage remake by Bomber Games. Or maybe you just find yourself a little too addicted to Angry Birds. Yeah, then you can play it on the Pandora as well. Although I highly recommend playing it as long as you actually have paid for the game. Well, but what about the software? This thing's a freaking laptop. It's got keys and everything. It should work just fine with software, right? Well, yes, it does. It has a good number of software. I won't show a lot of it because I wanted to mainly focus on what the system was built for, which was games. However, there are other programs on here, such as Comics, which allows you to read comic files on your Pandora and flip through them like a comic book, except for a digital one. Think Kindle, except for comic books. That's pretty much it. If you want to, you can run GIMP on here. It's not blazing fast because it's got to process images. However, GIMP does run. Personally, I would choose Pencil. If only because it runs quickly, boots up fast, and simple to draw in. That's just my quick doodle. Maybe you're not so artistic and you want to use it for movies or music. Well, you have a good number of options. There's plenty of music playing software. Audacious, Deadbeef, the built-in M player, Minamp. There's numbers and numbers of them to choose from. Those are just a few of them there. You can also use XMBC Media Player, which is great if you just want to use your Pandora for media. Additionally, Sunvox is available, which means that you can compose your own music if you so wish. The Pandora comes with a built-in movie player, and it's the one I'd recommend. However, there are also other players in case you wanted any. As for web browsing, there are plenty of options. If you want to web browse, you have choices between Aurora, Chromium, Firefox, Midori, Lightweight. Links. There are so many options. Right now, I would recommend Chromium. It's the fastest one, has the most features, and doesn't crash like Firefox does. Or Aurora. They both... Actually, Aurora runs faster but crashes, and Firefox doesn't crash as much, but it's much slower. In order to get websites, you just go to your system and toggle Wi-Fi. It should ask me for my password here to activate the web. And now you can browse the internet. Here, for example, is the OpenPandora message boards. Well, actually, no, it's not. This is the link page. Sorry. This is a great hub for locating websites about the Pandora. Now here is the official message boards. Additionally, you can go to YouTube and watch videos in 240p. Currently, we do not have a good way to watch YouTube videos, especially higher quality ones, outside of Minitube and a YouTube download software. This is currently being worked on. And last but not least, there are moments when you're just going to need to, well, type up a document. Maybe it's not as convenient as typing on a real, computer. However, the keyboard still does work great. For example, hello. Anyways, there are a lot of neat things you can do with the Pandora. I've just showed you a few nice things that you can do. If you want to know more about the Pandora, go to www.openpandora.org. Additionally, you can ask me a question, or you can go to the message boards and ask there. If you want to know what I actually thought of the Pandora as opposed to just seeing an overview of the unit, then check out my review on my channel. Thank you for watching.